Hey YouTube, here we are again, and this time again with a collaboration. And yeah, today we got a special topic to talk about, which is Candide de Voltaire and reading in general. But before that, let's present ourselves. So you know me already. My name is Dustin. I'm an IT project manager from Germany, and on this channel we create content that helps us to be productive, to learn new things, especially languages, and to live a happier and more fulfilling life. And I got Max with me. Max, who are you?
My name is Max. I have a YouTube channel called Max Learns Persian, and I do like more or less the same things as you do. And I also have the book Candide, but just in my other house because I just moved. So welcome to my new house, all of you. And I studied a lot of Spanish, English, German, French, and I'm learning Persian, of course, which is my main focus. And I'm writing a book to learn Dutch that you can use to learn Dutch. Storybook that will come out pretty soon.
Very nice, very nice. And we've already made a video together. And if you want to see that, you can find the link here somewhere. Or I think here, somewhere.
Nice. In this video, we'll be talking about our plan to read a book, right, Dustin?
That's right. And for that, we want to tackle a few different points. We will start with why actually reading a book in another language makes a lot of sense. Then how to do that, what this specific book actually is, what it's about, and yeah, how we will progress through, what the time plan is, and what tools we're going to use.
Right. So first of all, why would you read a book? Like before, how to do it? Why actually? And I think I didn't mention it, but I'm also a Dutch teacher, and I noticed that in my classes, children, adults, it doesn't matter, that whoever reads a book in Dutch, because I've also taught English, and English is the same. That student will be better than everyone else.
Yeah, well, why do you think that is? Is it because, like, if you read a book and it's really interesting, it will suck you in and you will spend way more time with the language, or why does that actually?
Right, of course. So the main thing in language learning is, of course, spending more time with your target language, and doesn't really matter too much what you do. If you do something in Dutch, if you want to learn Dutch, then you're gonna get better anyway. But I think it's also it does have a little bit to do as well with the particular activity of reading a book.
Hmm.
So uh, it's not completely independent of what you do. You know, putting in the time is not enough, I would say. It's the main thing. But and I think this has a little bit to do with efficiency. So for example, imagine you would have a list of words, right? A vocabulary, let's say 200 words, and with the translation, and you're trying to find out what each word means. You're trying to get it in your mind. It will take you like a couple of seconds to go through each word, right? Maybe 3 seconds for the translation, putting in your mind, maybe thinking about the little trick to remember the word. You go to the next one. And then that will be 200 words. That's like 3 seconds each. That's a lot of seconds before you get to the end of the list. And then, of course, you will have forgotten all those words as well. Now, in this time, you can probably also read one page of a book, or maybe even two,
Hmm.
in these couple of minutes that it will take you. But there's more than 200 words on one page of a book, usually about 400, right?
Hmm.
So, in terms of efficiency, you just get more words as input when you read than when you do something else. Even listening usually is a little bit slower than reading.
Ah, really? Like
What do you
listening?
think?
Really? Yeah, no, I completely agree with like that you absorb more words and also you absorb the words and the language in context. And that's really crucial because if you just learn them isolated, you won't keep them. And if you just read also like for fun, for pleasure, if it's the right level for you, of course. So you need to have a certain amount of knowledge before you do that. Or you start with easy stories and you work your way up. Um,
Right.
this way, yeah, it will definitely be more pleasant, and you will learn vocabulary without learning it actually. So you will acquire it, and that's I think crucial. But about the listening part, I think it's cool if you combine the two. If you read it and then you listen to it, and this way you also don't screw up your pronunciation because that's also
Right,
important.
right. Yeah, I do agree that, of course, when you do this, let's say you do a vocabulary list and you read, right? Then, of
Yeah.
course, when you finish a vocabulary list, and let's say that you've studied the words perfectly and now you know them and you can use them, which is probably not the case, but let's say that you can. you haven't read anything interesting, right? You haven't learned anything else than the words. But when you read a page or 2 pages, you've learned something about the culture when the text was about the culture, or you've gotten to know a beautiful story, maybe. So why not do 2 or 3 things at once, and then also combining it with listening, of course. Yeah, that would be
Perfect.
great. I do think that just reading is also good. Whenever I have the chance, I would always try to do it at the same time. But I just find that, for example, lying in my bed, next to my girlfriend, and then having my phone, my headphones, and the book, sometimes it's just too difficult, and I just prefer just reading. And
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't want any noise. I just want to chill. So then I do read, and then I find that pretty quickly I read faster than people talk when they read
Perfect.
out
Yeah.
loud, right? So that means it would be even more efficient in terms of quantity of words you get in.
Yeah, I know. I completely get that, and I agree. So for me, it's the same. It's not often that I do both of the things like simultaneously, like watching the text and also listen to it. But I do it like asynchronously. So I first read it normally, and then I listen to it. Like
Yeah, yeah.
one chapter that I read, for example, I will then listen to later when I'm driving the car or when I'm doing chores in the household or something.
Hmm.
And yeah, this way I get the twice the exposure to the same material, and it really helps to internalize the words and to understand what you have previously read. And yeah, and this is
Yeah.
actually also leads us actually to the next question: how to do that? And we kind of touched that now.
So I completely agree. Actually, I discovered the way to do that only with Persian. So before with other things, with other languages, I didn't do that. So I learned Spanish without a lot of repetitive listening, actually. But I had lots of opportunities to speak. But now with
Yeah,
Persian, I do it the same way. So I read something, um, and even text for text, each chapter of a textbook. I listen to the whole audiobook like the audio of every single text, just in the metro, in the bus. And I'm planning to do the same with this book, actually, with Candide in French, to read whatever I can and then listen to that a couple of times so you actually understand it. And you would of course also train how to hear the words in context, and then you would be able to also use what you've read, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't say much more about that. And yeah, if when it comes to how you actually read, first read then listen, we had that. But other than that, you can also use tools to ease it up a bit, like using, for example, LingQ to see
Yeah.
the word translation and so on. But it depends. If you're yeah advanced enough, and if the book isn't too difficult for you, then you should definitely also try to read like real books, and also don't stress yourself out if you don't understand each word. If you understand the context and the whole picture or the big picture, then it's fine. So don't stress yourself. That's what I do. Not stressing myself for that.
So I completely agree. First read, then listen to it many times, and don't worry about understanding everything. And I also agree with the fact that it's best to choose a book that you can understand at least the bigger picture of when you read it. But I found that even books at my level, so for example in German, which I was able to read German relatively quickly on a high level, because it's very close to my native language Dutch, and because I already speak English at a high level as well. But still, for example, with the book Masses and Goldmund von Hermann Hesse,
Mhm.
it was still quite difficult for me to get into the story because there were so many new words from this particular writer that I'd never seen before. So that's why I have a little tip when it comes to that too, and that is when you have the first, let's say, 30% of the book.
Mhm.
Um, I look up a little bit more words. So when I
Mhm.
notice that a same word that I don't know is repeating itself over and over again, I just look it up, I note it down, and I find that more or less after 30% of the
Mhm.
book, I don't need this anymore. So, um, yeah, I just wanted to say that whoever wants to read a book in a foreign language, sometimes it is your level and you are ready for it, but you still need to do a little bit of extra work to get into the story. And then you will see that the writer, this particular writer, will be using the same words over and over again because each person has his own preferences, right? And
True.
his own style. So you will see the same structures, the same words over and again, and you will get into it.
True, completely right. And that's why we do that together because I have completely forgotten that. Right. That's also what I noticed when I read my first French book. I read the first chapter, I think 5 times, in order to internalize the start, in order to get the speech in, and also did some exercises to yeah, translate some stuff and so on. And then the rest of the book was way easier. And even though it was above my level, I could digest it. It took me a long time, but it really helped. Let's come to the book that we want to
C'est
read.
quoi?
C'est quoi? C'est Candide de Voltaire, and that's the French classic. So you might have heard about this one already.
Well, yeah, who is Voltaire actually? Of course, he's one of the main figures of the French Revolution. And his works were also used, his ideas were also used in the French Revolution. And also, he was one of the very first ones to actually critique the nobility of France by writing about them in a very comic way, in a very funny way, which was great for the people at the time that could already read, to read about, that these people could also be ridiculized. And he also wrote a bunch of philosophical essays and plays that were, of course, performed in theaters, and even some of them have been turned into movies. So that's great. And this book is particularly good, I think, for language learners because it's relatively short,
Mm.
but still very important for the history of France. So, like we said before, we're not only learning French, we're learning about France and about
Exactly.
the French.
Exactly. And it also gets used very commonly in the education, in the French education system. And often at school, you would read it and then you would do exercises around it, and it would be even part of the exams. Yeah, to answer questions about that and so on, or to write a dossier. And yeah, this is actually what this specific version is also about. So this is specifically made for yeah, French pupils, and yeah, it doesn't cost much, and should be definitely interesting to not only read it but also try to do those exercises. But since we are not going to school anymore, we don't have a teacher who can rate us, not punish. We need
Or punish.
we need to somehow have someone who can help us. And I thought it might be a good idea to use ChatGPT for that. I haven't tried it to do that with such a book, but I think it might be an interesting exercise. So stay tuned.
Yes, I'm very psyched to try it as well, actually. It was your idea, but I'm going to try it as well, I think. And we'll be making maybe 1 or 2 videos about how the book is going, right? Maybe together, maybe apart. We don't really know.
Yeah.
And we would like to invite all of you, everyone who watches this and wants to learn French, to just buy the book on Amazon. We'll probably put a link in the description, I guess. And then you can just purchase it. And we don't get anything for that, of course. The only thing we get is, yeah, in the comments, we would like to talk about it, how it's going. Also, if you subscribe to Dustin's channel, then he will be posting some things, questions, things like this. And we can really have like a small community talking about this book. And also we can inspire each other, give each other ideas about how to study it. And you can, of course, use the advice that we have given you in this video to get started.
Also, and yeah, right. And if you are not learning French, this book has been translated like in all languages, kind of. And you can also read it in Spanish or in, I don't know, whatever language, German,
Persian.
English, Persian, yeah, I guess, or any other language. So that shouldn't be an impediment.
Right. So just buy it in the language that you are learning, and then we can still talk about it in English, French, whatever. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. Let's do that.
Okay, so we'll just put it in the comments already right now in this video if you're going to try it, and then we'll see you somewhere along the way.
Perfect. Thank you very much for watching. And as said, see you the next time. Bye.
Thank you, Dustin. See you. Bye.